called Instructions of the Wind. Instructions of the Wind. All right. So first and foremost, let's go to our famous verse in the New Testament, which is Colossians. The book of Colossians and chapter 3, verse 17. Colossians 3 and 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name by Hashem HaMashiach Yahushai, giving thanks to the Father Yahweh by Him. Everything we do is through the Father and the Son, and like I always say, we cannot praise Him enough. It's all about the Heavenly Father and the Son. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into the scriptures. If you have a phone on, it has a mute button. So if you could press your mute button so we don't get any reverb on it, and that way the class could be precise. I have a little mechanism that I could push just in case it gets too loud. Like if there's too much background noise, I can mute everybody out where you can hear me but you can't say anything until after I open the conference call back up again. But there's no need for that. So all of us all of us are pretty sane on this conference call, so I don't need to do that. But I know sometimes some brothers end up snoring on the conference call because they've been working all day and they're tired. But I understand that, but that's why we have that mute button. Okay, so let's go to Isaiah chapter 45. Isaiah chapter 45 verse 18, and I want to get into the instructions of the wind, because the wind just represents the Spirit of the Most High. That's what the wind is. He speaks about the wind and the Spirit all through the scriptures, and a lot of people who don't have ears to hear don't hear it, nor do they see it, nor do they feel it. You should, when you read the scriptures, it's a mirror. It should be able to affect your soul. Some of the situations and the events that happen in the scriptures should be able to resonate with your spirit. It should be able to touch you, because everything that we're going through today ain't new. All this stuff has happened before on the earth. Men and women and children all had the same problems. Nothing has changed. So it's best to read the Bible so you can have a guide to prevent yourself from going through something that somebody already went through. Okay, and so we're going to touch on the scriptures. We're going to go to Isaiah 45 verse 18. Isaiah chapter 45 verse 18. And it reads, For thus saith the Most High that created the heavens, the Most High Himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Adawam, or the Lord, and there is none else. I have not spoken in secret in a dark place of the earth. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, Seek ye me in vain. I, the Most High, speak righteousness. I declare things that are right. So zero in on that. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, Seek ye me in vain. He said not to seek Him in vain. So what we have today, we got a lot of vainglory going on with a lot of brethren. Across the globe, a lot of brothers like to take proudness into their bodies, into their minds, to feel that they have achieved something by being in this truth, and that they must push it out there to show, look, I'm this and I'm that because I've been in this truth a long time. But the vainness is what condemns you. The vainness is a form of sin. It's a deadly sin, okay? It's called idol worship. You can idolize yourself. Brother Yahar was going over idols not too long ago in the class. And the idol worship is what we always fall to. You could either idolize somebody else or you could idolize yourself. And that goes on big in the world. Not only that, when I say idolize someone else, that's covetousness, because It's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. Y'all heard that saying before. Everybody wants to, you see somebody buy a car and then somebody else on the block tries to imitate that and buy the same car. So it's a form of vainness that we have to be careful when we pray into the Most High, not to take this truth and embody it within ourselves and think that we're something bigger than what we really are. So we have to be careful with that. The truth is powerful. It can make you feel like you know more than anyone else on the whole planet. Especially when you start getting into identities of figuring out who people are based on their nationalities. When you look at the Moabites and the Ammonites, and when you're walking around in public, you're looking at these people and that's what you're thinking they are. But the Most High has confusion of faces. So we have to be careful with that, okay? There's brothers that look just like Chinese that are Israelites. There's brothers that look just like East Indians that are Israelites. We have to be very careful, okay? Confusion of faces. But for the most part, we know that based on Deuteronomy chapter 28, there's an option list. When you get to Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68, a lot of people don't fit those curses. And that's how we justify who we are today based on that alone. Okay? And then we look at our forefathers, what they've been through, to signify that they also had those curses on them. Okay? So we have to be careful with the vanity when it comes to that. It's damaging to others. Our accomplishments sometimes can be uplifting to people, but it also could be damaging to other people as well. So we have to understand that your lifestyle has a lot to do with damaging other people. People in this day and age are very materialistic. They always want to know, how are you living? What are you doing different than everybody else? And that's also vanity. Okay? Think about King David. King David had everything. And think about some of the Israelites that were there. They couldn't understand why the Most High blessed King David. They couldn't understand why, because I'm sure there were some brothers that came under the reign of King Saul that was living in that land under King David that despised him, like the Benjamites. A lot of the Benjamites despised King David. Okay, I don't know if you know that. If you read the scriptures, the Benjamites had an issue with King David. They wouldn't let him run to hide there when his son Absalom was trying to take over the kingdom. So, you know, all of the stuff that we deal with today, they were dealing with back then. So, we only have, you know, we only have this truth, the law, statutes, and commandments to go off of and to keep ourselves balanced and each other, you know, to keep each other balanced. But you hear things like this coming from other congregations or other schools saying this school is the only one that got the truth. That's wrong. That's vainglory. Okay? Or this brother right here is the best speaker in Israel. No one else could speak better than him. That's vainglory. Okay? And you got that in the world too, you know, so you got to be very careful of what we do. I want to get into some of these scriptures. Let's go to Luke 18 and 9, verse 9. And when you think about the ego of people, the Most High can't stand an egotistic person. When you look at the story of Balaam, when he was going to get slew by the angel standing in the middle of the road, Balaam couldn't see him, but the donkey could see him. The ass could see this angel standing with a sword in the middle of the road. And what did the Most High do? He used that ass to tell Balaam that there's an angel standing in the middle of the road that was ready to kill him. So the Most High could use anything other than someone who's high-minded. He could use a donkey and an ass if he wanted to bring his word out. You don't need to necessarily use you. The Most High stands by himself. Let's go to Luke 18 and 9. Hold on. I want to read one more verse. No, let's go to Luke 18 and 9. The slack, yeah, I can. The book of Luke 18 and 9. Luke 18 and 9, and it reads, And he spoke this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous, and despised others. See, you had it going on back then. Some thought they were more righteous than others. 2 men went up into the temple to pray, The one a Pharisee, and the other a publican. So you had a priest and you had a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, Most High, I thank you that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. He pointed at the publican. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smite upon his breast, saying, Yahweh, me merciful, to me a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. So here's a parable that Yahushua is telling to the men of Jerusalem during that day, because those men that he was talking to with this parable, they were boasting too. They were talking about that they knew everything. So the Most High don't like a proud spirit. The publican was humble. The Pharisee was what? He was prideful. You know, oh, I'm keeping all the laws. Ain't nobody keeping these laws like me. I'm a righteous man. Okay? So we have to understand that we can't be that way. And it takes practice not to be that way if that's the way you are. And when you listen to music, music is a lot like that. Especially during the 80s and the 90s. There was a lot of boasting about who they were. You know, even today, a lot of rappers be boasting, a lot of singers be boasting about what they have, who they are. And it spills over into the generation of people that are listening when they start acting that way. All right, so verse 15. And they brought unto him also infants, that he would touch them. But when his disciples saw it, they rebuked them. Now, you would think that the disciples had just heard what Yahushua just preached to these men about the publican and the Pharisee. But here they turning these children away. They just trying to get close to the Messiah. Right? So what are they doing? They thinking that he too good to deal with these babies. It just goes to show you, these disciples, they was kind of slow in a little bit, because they were right there with the Messiah, but they didn't even understand him. Here he is teaching, telling people how to live, how to follow the Most High's laws, and they wasn't even following along. I'll read it again. And they brought unto him also infants, that he would touch them. But when his disciples saw it, they rebuked them. They rebuked them for, isn't that crazy? But Yahushua called them unto him and said, Suffer little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of the Most High. Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of the Most High as a little child shall in no wise enter therein. So you got to have eyes like a child. Okay? Because you could get corrupt, like I said earlier, you could get corrupted by the world. Your education can corrupt you. Your experiences can corrupt you. Okay? Even being in the truth, keeping the laws, and dealing with several people on a regular basis, even teaching them, can corrupt you as far as your spirit not being fresh. Okay? It could get a shell, it could be hardened based on your experiences. And that's what Yahushua was trying to teach us, not to be hardened behind all of this stuff. Let's go to Luke 8:18. Let's drop down the verse. Let's see, what do I want? I want to go to 2 Chronicles. When you're reading the Bible, you're mostly reading about the prophets, right? Every book you read prior to the New Testament is mostly prophets. You have the major prophets, which is Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, right? Who I miss? Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and then you get to the major the lesser prophets, right? Which is Obadiah, Habakkuk. All of those are the lesser prophets. And so when you get to those, it really don't get into, when you're reading those books, it really don't get into the vainness of one particular Israelite in that book is talking about the whole nation. That's why a lot of people don't understand these books of the prophets, because who are they speaking to? The whole nation of Israel. I know when I wasn't in the truth, I didn't understand anything about Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Daniel. I didn't understand anything about it except for Daniel because of the storyline. But I didn't know who he was talking to. I didn't know what the significance of it. Once I figured out the truth and got into the truth, I was able to understand what these prophets were doing. They were trying to wake up the whole nation of Israel. It's all about the nation of Israel. Back then, if Israel went off, then the whole nation suffered. The whole nation suffered behind a few people. We are unlike any other people. Other nations, one person can sin, two people can sin, and it don't bring any destruction on them. But Israel's like a pile of ants. If all the ants are doing the wrong thing, that ant pile will get squashed. That's how the Most High deals with Israel, the same way. Other nations, they can sin for decades until they reach that high peak of sin. Israel, as soon as they sin, boom, judgment. That's the difference as a nation. 2 Chronicles 26. And the reason why I'm taking you to 2 Chronicles is because I want you brothers and sisters to see how cocky some of these Israelites were that weren't prophets. 2 Chronicles 26, and let's read verse 14. Now this is a king. His name was Uzziah. Okay, and it reads, and Uzziah prepared for them throughout all the hosts shields and spears and helmets and harbigons and bows and slings to cast stones. And he made in Jerusalem engines invented by cunning men. This is all war mechanisms. To be on the towers and upon the boards, to shoot arrows and great stones withal. And his name spread far abroad, for he was marvelously helped till he was strong. So this was a powerful guy. It's like when you hear about Michael Jordan or LeBron James, everybody knows who that is. That's how his name was, Uzziah. Everybody knew who he was based on what he did. But he got cocky. Verse 16. But when he was strong, meaning he was lifted up in the spirit, you know, because everybody knew him, his heart was lifted up to his destruction. See that? For he transgressed against the Most High, his power, and went into the temple of the Most High to burn incense upon the altar of incense. Now, who could do that? Who's the only people that could burn incense during those days? Anybody know? The high priest, right. Only the priest of Levi could burn incense. Nobody else could do it. The king couldn't even do it. The king had their office. The priest had their office. There was never a king that was a Levite. Okay? The kings were always of other tribes. They were of Judah. They were of Benjamin. Okay? They were of the other tribes. So here you got a king, got frustrated, took some incense. We're going to read it. It says, and Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him 80 priests, 80 is 80 priests of the Lord, that were valiant men. These men loved the law. And they withstood Uzziah the king. They fought against him. They said, they were like arguing, like, you know, you're not supposed to be doing this. And said unto him, it pertaineth not unto you, Uzziah, to burn incense unto the Most High, but to the priests, the sons of Aaron, that are consecrated to burn incense. Go out of the sanctuary. Now just imagine 80 people coming up against you. And they all priests. Imagine that. Let alone, we could barely stand 1 or 2 people. Imagine 80 men of the Lord coming up against you. That's how cocky he was. Go out of the sanctuary, for thou hast trespassed. Neither shall it be for thine honor from the Most High thy power. Then Uzziah was wroth. He was angry, and had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth with the priest, the leprosy even rose up in his forehead before the priest in the house of the Most High, from beside the incense altar. So this man caught leprosy. The Most High struck him quickly with leprosy. See that? Based on his high-mindedness, based on his cockiness against the men of the Lord. And Azariah, the chief priest, and all the priests looked upon him, and behold, he was leprous in his forehead. Most High put a mark on his forehead. And they so right there, okay, so if he was leprous on his forehead, y'all all know what the color of leprosy is what? I just want to show y'all color in the Bible. What color is leprosy?
Albino?
I'm sorry?
Albino?
What color? Albino is not a color. What color is leprosy?
It's a white. White?
Is white. Okay. What scripture can you show me that leprosy is white? There's two.
Moses took his hand out of his bosom and it turned to white. Leprous like snow.
Thank you. Where's another one where the person turned white as snow?
Leviticus 13 and
No, it's not Leviticus. Well, Leviticus, yes, that's the law on leprosy. But I'm thinking of a person who caught leprosy and turned white as snow, other than Moses' arm.
Esau is red.
That's true, but I'm not talking about red. I'm talking about a person that caught leprosy.
Miriam?
Miriam, there you go, sister. In Numbers chapter 12, let's read that real quick so we can see it. Numbers chapter 12. Just to show you that there is color in the Bible. Numbers chapter 12, and let's read verse 1. Numbers 12 and 1. You ready? Okay, I'm going to start reading. Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. Now, for better understanding, she wasn't an Ethiopian woman. She was a Midianite. Okay? She was one of Abraham's line, but through his other wife. The whole continent of Africa was called Ethiopia back then. So anybody living in Africa, they were called Ethiopian people. Okay? Outside of Egypt and outside of Canaan. All right? Verse 2. And they said, hath the Most High indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Most High heard it. Now the man Moses was very meek about all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And the Most High spoke suddenly unto Moses, and unto Aaron, and unto Miriam, Come out, ye three, into the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And the Most High came down in a pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle. That's scary. And called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words, if there be a prophet among you, I, the power, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him I will speak to mouth even apparently, and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Most High shall he behold. Wherefore? Then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? He's getting on him. And the anger of the Most High was kindled against him, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. So that's showing you right there what leprosy looks like. So if Miriam became white as snow, what was she before that? She had to have some pigment in her complexion. She had to have some melanin. She had to be brown, either dark brown or light brown. One or the other. Okay? And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Do you see that? And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Why did he punish her and not Aaron? Why did he punish her and not Aaron? They both was talking bad about Moses. She was the one causing the most. She started it. She started it. And she's speaking against the Most High's prophet. Remember what he said? You speak against his prophet, judgment come right back on you. And she was out of place anyway. You know, a woman wasn't supposed to even have that kind of attitude towards a prophet back in those days. She was way out of line. Verse 12, it says, let her not be as one dead, whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. What is he talking about here? Can anybody help me? What is he talking about here? When he cometh out, it says he cometh out of his mother's womb. Anybody tell me what that's about? Huh? Who? One person at a time. Whoever want to go first. Okay. Esau, there you go. You got it. So Esau came out that way, right? His flesh was consumed. It said he came out red all over like a hairy garment. Back in those days, nobody came out that color. They all came out. The Bible, it only talks about the things that's different that came out. Esau's the only one that came out like that. Everybody else came out with color. Right? But babies come out originally, when babies come out of a womb, they have no pigment. I don't care who they are. They all come out with no pigment. And then the blood rushes to them. And then the pigment sets in once the oxygen hits them. Okay? So that's what it's talking about. So there we have it. It's showing white as snow, right? So let's go back to 2 Chronicles chapter 26. And let's go to verse 21. 2 Chronicles 26 verse 21. And Uzziah the king was a leper unto the day of his death, and dwelt in a several house, being a leper, for he was cut off from the house of the Most High. And Jotham his son was over the king's house, judging the people of the land. Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, first and last, did Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, write. So Uzziah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of burial, which belonged to the kings. He is a leper. All right, so there you have it. Somebody who was very egotistic, very boasting, thought he was all that in a bag of chips, is what we say today. And look what happened to him. Okay, so the Most High don't like pride. He don't like pride at all. Let's go to Romans chapter 3. Romans chapter 3. And let's go to verse 10. Romans 3 and 10. And let's see what the Most High think about men and women on the earth. Romans 3 and 10. And it reads, as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after the Most High. This is what the Most High is saying. There is none that doeth righteousness. No one understands, because the only thing that has been revealed in our time at this moment is that we know we are Israelites, and we know we must keep the law, statutes, commandments, and we know that we must teach them by following Yahushua. That's all we know. Okay? We try to break down Revelation. Some brothers be like, oh yeah, this, that. Most High giving us bits and pieces. Bits and pieces is all he's giving us. All of us, even when the angels came to speak to some of the prophets, they didn't give the prophets everything at one time. Moses is probably the only one that got everything at one time, him and Ezra. But when you look at the scriptures, let's go to 1 Corinthians 13. 13 and 8, is it? Let's see. 13 and 9. 1 Corinthians 13 and 9. And it reads, for we know in part, and we prophesy in part. You see that? So none of us got the whole truth. The whole truth, nothing but the truth. None of us got it. We get bits. We get bits and pieces. Can y'all hear me on the conference call? Okay. Can y'all?
We can hear you out.
Come. Let's go to Joshua 1 and 9. The book of Joshua 1 and 9. Joshua chapter 1 verse 9, and it reads, "Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Most High thy power is with thee, whithersoever thou goest." So how's the Most High going to go with us? If you read the verse right above it, it says, "This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou prayest to observe to do according to all that is written therein." See, what you have to understand is the Most High gave us a very forgetful mind, and we have to write stuff down in order to remember it. If we don't write it down, we have to read it out this book. But the more we read it, the more we write things down, it helps us to remember. This is the aid that we have to do on a day-to-day basis in order to have the safety of the Most High. But the Most High is saying that He will protect us as long as we do that and not be high-minded. Let's jump over about 4 verses and let's see what this scripture unveils. The one we just read, how He said that He will lead us wherever we go. And let's go to Joshua chapter 5 and 13. Look how the Most High came to the aid of the Israelites for doing just that right there. Joshua 5 and 13. "And it came to pass, when Joshua was by Jericho," y'all heard of Jericho, the walls came tumbling down, that's where we at, "that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him, with sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Art thou for us or for our adversaries?" Joshua ran up on this man that had a sword, twirling it around. That's a bold man. Joshua wasn't afraid of nothing. Think about that. Would you run up on somebody swinging an AKA or swinging an M16 around? Joshua ran right up to him. And he said, "Nay, but as captain of the host of the Most High am I now come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth, and did worship, and said unto him, "What saith my Adawam unto his servant?" Okay, so this was the angel of the Most High. This was Yahushua. He was a captain. Did you see that? It says, "And the captain of the Most High's host said unto Joshua," captain of the Most High's host. He is the Lord of hosts, is he not? This is Yahushua in the Old Testament. I'm not saying his name being Yahushua or Jesus, but this was him, the creator of all earth. "Loose thy shoes from off thy foot, for the place where thou standest is holy." And Joshua did so. He recognized he was in front of the presence of the Most High. Let's jump down to 6 and 1, because many people stop right there and don't know that the angel is still talking in the next chapter. And let's read. So they're looking out where they are because they're about to attack Jericho. So the angel is telling him, or the Holy One is telling him how to destroy it. So he says, "Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in." So they were tight-lipped. They wouldn't open up their gates because they knew the children of Israel was about to destroy it. "And the Most High said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thine hands Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor. And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days. So what is he doing? He's giving him instructions. Remember I said the topic is instruction of the wind? These are the instructions. Let's see if he's going to do it or not do it. There's not too many people in here that disobey the Most High except for Adam. Okay, he was the first one. Saul's another one. And so on and so on. But Most people did what he asked. Verse 4. And 7 priests shall hear or bear be before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times. Most High's favorite number, 7. And the priests shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, like I did at the beginning of class, and when you hear the sound of a trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests, and said unto him, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Most High. And he said unto the people, Pass on, and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of the Most High. So this was the instructions that he got. And Joshua told the people right away. All right? Right away he called the priests, it said in verse 6. He didn't waste no time. He threw those instructions right back on his captains and his lieutenants and sergeants and thus and thus. So understand the Most High don't need you, we need him. I want to go to Psalms 50 and 7. I want to show you how the Most High deals with us. I'm saving the best for last, Akim. I'm saving the best for last. Make sure you don't fall asleep. Psalms chapter 50, verse 7. And it reads, Hear, O my people, and I will speak, O Israel, and I will testify against you. I am the Most High, even thy power. I will not reprove thee for thy sacrifices, or thy burnt offerings, to have been continually before me. Because that's what we did. That's how we had our sins forgiven. We sacrificed. I will take no bullocks out of thy house, nor he-goats out of thy folds. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine, and the fullness thereof. He don't need us for nothing. He says, Will I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Yeah, he ain't that type of God, that type of power. Offer unto the Most High thanksgiving and pay thy vows unto the Most High. He wants you to just honor him with your whole spirit, right? With all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. That's what the Most High wants. I want to go to Psalms 103 in verse 17. So he don't need us. He don't need us if we ain't doing right. He needs somebody that's going to do right. Psalms 103 verse 17. Psalms 103 verse 17. But the mercy of the Most High is from everlasting to everlasting upon them that fear him, and his righteousness unto children's children, to such as keep his covenant, and to those that remember his commandments to do them. All he's talking about, y'all hear it. All he's talking about is his commandments. The Most High hath prepared his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom ruleth over all. Bless the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem HaMashiach El Shayi, his angels that excel in strength, that do his commandments. Even his angels do his commandments. They don't hesitate either. When he tells them to do it, they run to do his commandments. It says, hearkening unto the voice of his word. Bless ye the Most High thy power, all ye his hosts, ye ministers of his that do his pleasure. Bless the Most High of hosts, all his works in all places of his dominion. Bless the Most High, O my soul. This is King David talking about how the Most High works. If he commands us with instructions, our job is to do it. If the angels do it, we got to do it. And we supposed to be over the angels. Believe that or not. We're going to be judging the angels. So how we not doing his commandments? He ain't got to deal with us. I'll tell you one thing. If an angel come and tell you to do something, even though you think that you might be over that angel, you better do what that angel tell you to do. Because that angel ain't coming on his own will. He coming with the will of the Most High. What I want to go over now, and this is the last part, but the most exciting part. I want to show you how Israel followed orders given to them by the Most High. And I want to start off with Adam. I want to show you how Adam went off. So the Most High had Adam in his bosom, and he told Adam what to do in the garden, right? Let's see what Adam went off at real quick. Everybody knows how Adam fell. Even people who don't read the Bible, they know how Adam fell, right? Let's go to Genesis 3, verse 17. Now, this is after they did what they did, but this is what people don't realize. Let's read 16. It reads, "Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children." Okay, and you look at animals, the female animals don't be in pain when they give birth. Only our women. Human women are the only ones who be in pain. I did a study on that, and I saw not one animal is screaming when they're giving birth. They still be eating grass, some of them. It says, "And thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over you." Now, the rule over you is just being head of the household. The Most High is going to talk to that man as being the head of the household. A man is supposed to guide the family to the Most High. That's the whole purpose of being a ruler over the house. You're supposed to be that mouthpiece to the Most High, to instruct the family correctly. Okay, verse 17, it says, "And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee." So what did he do wrong? He listened to the voice of his wife and not the voice of the Most High. That's where he went off. "And has eaten of the tree of which I command." He commanded him to do what? Not eat it. Saying, "Thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life." So this is where Adam went off. He failed to follow the commandments. He didn't keep the instructions. Let's look at another one real quick. Let's go to Luke. Let's go to one of the priests, one of the high priests that we were speaking of, that burns incense that we spoke about earlier. Let's go to Luke chapter 1, verse 10. I'll start at 9. "According to the custom of the priest office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of the Most High. And the whole multitude," and now this is Zechariah, this is John the Baptist's father. Verse 10, "And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense." So there was a certain time of day that the incense was lit for people to come outside of the temple and pray to the Father. Everybody knew that when those incense lit, that was your time to get right with the Father and pray. That's when you went and prayed. Verse 11, "And there appeared unto him an angel of the Most High, standing on the right side of the altar of incense." Imagine that. Imagine you getting up in the morning to get dressed, and you turn to your right, there's an angel standing there looking at you. And a lot of these angels wasn't pretty people. They were scary looking. "And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him." See that? "But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias." Just like when the aliens come to earth, what do they say? "Fear not, I come in peace. For thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John, Yachanan. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Most High, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Holy Spirit. Even from his mother's womb, he was born with the Holy Spirit, like Jeremiah. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Most High thy power. And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Most High. And Zechariah said unto the angel, Whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years. Now Zechariah is saying this because he is afraid. He's an old man, and he knows that the Romans are running the city. So he knows when the Most High shows up, the Most High is bringing a message. You got to go and do this work. He's saying, I'm an old man. How I look going out there trying to save all my people at this age? I'm old. So look what the angel did. And the angel answering said unto him, I am Gabriel that stand in the presence of the Most High, and am sent to speak unto you, and to show thee these glad tidings. And behold, thou shalt be dumb, and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. And the people waited for Zacharias, and marveled that he tarried as long in the temple. And when he came out, he could not speak unto them. And they perceived that he had seen a vision in the temple, where he beckoned unto them, and remained speechless. So here he is. He can't speak for 9 months. Because why? Because of his unbelief. Because he failed to keep the instructions of the wind. That's why I said, you see an angel comes, hey, it's an honor for an angel to come from the Most High to tell you something, to give you a message. But on second time, if you're double thinking it, it could be the end of you. The Most High may be using you just to teach a word and then take you out. Okay? So a lot of people back in those days, they knew when the angel showed up what was going to happen. They're like, oh, shoot. I got to step up to the plate now. You can't run from it. You saw what happened to Jonah. He tried to run, got swallowed by a whale. You can't run from it. You got people today running from this truth. People hear this truth on the streets. They hear it on TV, and they are afraid. You see how when that brother was, I know y'all seen it, the brothers in D.C. going toe-to-toe, they didn't show nothing about the brother bringing any scriptures. And when you watch the actual video footage, that's all he brought out. They waited for a soundbite where he didn't say anything regarding scriptures, but was talking about the children. And it was only like for like a minute. But anything concerning the scriptures, they didn't even play it at all. He was saying, thus saith the Lord. He was bringing scriptures out. People are afraid of the scriptures. They are terrified when people are bringing these scriptures out. So don't be afraid. That was a blessing. And it was all by the hand of the Most High that it came out. I want to take you to Exodus chapter 6. So what I'm doing right now is I'm showing you how our forefathers got instructions from the Most High. And so when we got instructions, the Most High was like, look, you better do this, boy, or else. You don't have a choice. And people may see you pushing this word or doing something, and they don't understand why you have this look about yourself and teaching this word, but the Most High put it on you. This is Exodus 6:1. Then the Most High said unto Moses, Now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And the Most High spoke unto Moses. Most High spoke unto Moses, and said unto him, I am the power. And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob by the name of the Most High Almighty. But by my name, Yahweh, was I not known to them. See that? Jump over to verse 10. And I'm going only to the parts where he's telling them something. Verse 10, And the Most High spoke unto Moses, saying, Go in, speak unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, that he let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Moses spoke before the Most High, saying, Behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me? Who am of uncircumcised lips? And the Most High spoke unto Moses and unto Aaron, and gave them a charge unto the children of Israel, and unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. And then he goes into the genealogy of the Israelites. The Most High is telling them which people to get. You see that? He's breaking down the genealogy, the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad and the sons of Simeon. But he received instructions. Let's go to verse 28. And it came to pass on the day when the Most High spoke unto Moses in the land of Egypt, that the Most High spoke unto Moses, saying, I am the power. Speak thou unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I say unto thee. And Moses said before the Most High, Behold, I am uncircumcised. Moses is keep giving him excuses. Do y'all see this? He keep giving him excuses. And the Most High is merciful. He's allowing Moses to speak to him. And Moses said before the Most High, Behold, I am uncircumcised lips, and how shall Pharaoh hearken unto me? He got so much doubt. Moses got so much doubt in himself. He is so afraid. Here he's talking to the creator of the whole world, and he still got doubt. You see that? Let's go to chapter 7, and let's read 1. And the Most High said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh. Now you got Aaron speaking to Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. So what is Moses doing? Aaron is the one speaking. Aaron is the one taking the staff and doing things with it, making it into snakes. Aaron's doing everything. Moses just standing by. Most High's mercy. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth mine armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the power when I stretch forth mine hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as the Most High commanded them, so did they. So now they finally doing what the Most High told them to do. But Moses is going back and forth. Isn't that something? Most High loved Moses. Let's go to Judges chapter 13. Got to think about it. Moses was the lawgiver. Yahushua came to bring what? Salvation. Those two men. Judges, let's see, Judges 13. We're going to read about Samson. Let's see what the instructions was for his mother and father. They got instructions. And just think about when we went over John the Baptist, what his instructions were to his father. Okay? And listen how this is almost similar to John the Baptist. And we're going to start at verse 2. Judges 13 and 2. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, the tribe of Dan, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. And the angel of the Most High appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Most High is talking to her like he was talking to Mary. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine. John the Baptist couldn't drink wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. He's telling Samson's mother, don't eat. What's an unclean thing? We got Leviticus chapter 11. It gives you the dietary laws. You see why the laws are important? If the Most High came and told somebody today in the world, don't eat any unclean thing, they wouldn't know what he was talking about. So he came to a law-fearing family. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto the Most High from the womb. And he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, and see, this is why the man is the head of the household. Where did she run to? Her husband. A man of the Most High came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of the Most High. Very terrible. See that angel? See his countenance? His face. Very terrible. Scary. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told me his name. So when y'all see all these TV shows of these angels showing up and they look all pretty and handsome, they lying. The Bible tells you these angels are scary. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. And now drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to the Most High, from the womb to the day of his death. Then Manoah entreated the Most High and said, O my power, let the man of the Most High, which thou didst send, come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. Now the angel just told her what she had to do. She wasn't listening. She wasn't listening. Okay? So when we read on, let's read on. Verse 9, And the Most High hearkened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of the Most High came again unto the woman, as she sat in the field. But Manoah her husband was not with her. And the woman made haste, and ran, and showed her husband, and said unto him, Behold, the man hath appeared unto me, that came unto me the other day. And Manoah arose, and went after his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him, Art thou the man that spoketh unto the woman? And he said, I am. And Manoah said, Now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child? And how shall we do unto him? And the angel of the Most High said unto Manoah, Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. He said, Beware this time. I told you once. He came back because she forgot. That's the only reason why the angel came back. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I commanded her, let her observe. See that? That's the angel came and gave instructions. You got to follow the instructions. At least she was diligent to find out again what it was so she didn't mess up. Right? Adam messed up. We're going through these scriptures. I just want you guys to get the logistics of it. I got 30 minutes. I thought I was way overboard already. I got 30 more minutes. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 1. I want y'all to see, every time we get instructions, some of us follow through and some of us do not. Those who follow through live a long time. Some of them don't. Some of them die early, based on whether the mission is completed or not. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 4. Jeremiah 1 and 4, and it reads, Then the word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew you. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. So before the baby was even born, you already knew who this baby was. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. See that? Just like John the Baptist. Then said I, O Lord, the Most High thy power, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child. But the Most High said unto me, Say not, I am a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatsoever I commanded thee, thou shalt speak. See that? Whatever is commanded, you got to follow through. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, saith the Most High. Then the Most High put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And the Most High said unto me, Behold, I have put my words in your mouth. See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out, to pull down. What does that pull down mean? And to root out everything that you know. All your imaginations got to be destroyed. And to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. So once someone is totally destroyed of all the thoughts that they've had, now you got to build them up and you got to replant, as you can see here. Moreover, the word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, what seest thou? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. Then said the Most High unto me, Thou hast well seen, for I will hasten my word to perform it. And the word of the Most High came unto me a second time, saying, What seest thou? And I said, I see a seething pot. What's a seething pot? It's like a cooking pot. You ever see like a witch's brew and they're brewing something in this big pot? That's what a seething pot is. And the face thereof was towards the north. Then the Most High said unto me, Out of the north an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. For lo, I will call all the families of the kingdom of the north, saith the Most High. And they shall come, and they shall set everyone his throne at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem, and against the walls thereof round about, and against the cities of Judah. So with this being said, Jeremiah had a job to do, and that job was what? To prophesy to Israel. Okay? He was commanded as a child, meaning he didn't have a life. He never got married. Jeremiah never got married. Ezekiel got married. Isaiah got married. Both of them had children. Jeremiah never got married, never had any children. Okay? Let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel. Now this is the good one. This is the one I've been waiting to get to. Ezekiel. This is close to the end. We're almost at the end here. This is juicy. Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 6. Ezekiel 2 and 6. Now, when you read the book of Ezekiel, the whole first chapter is talking about chariots coming down on the earth, what they call UFOs. Okay? Because it's describing it's describing how they look, how they're amber, how they fly, how they land, okay, how they got wings. That's what it's talking about. How they fly in the firmament. Those are the living creatures. Verse 5, verse 6 in chapter 2, it reads, And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words. Through briars and thorns be with thee, and thou doest dwell among scorpions. Be not afraid of the words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Who's that rebellious house? Our people. Very rebellious. They're the worst people to go up against when you're trying to teach. Our own people. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. For they are most rebellious. But thou, son of man, hear what I say unto thee. Be not thou rebellious like that, rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat that I give thee. And when I looked, behold, a hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without. And there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe. So what is this roll? It's this Bible that we have. He had to eat it. It says, Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with thy roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. When you first wake up to this truth, the Bible is like sweetness. It's like honey. It's like, wow, I didn't know I was in this book. I didn't know I was an Israelite. Wow, I got to keep the commandment. What? He's coming back for us? What? We fit the curses? That's sweet. Now, when you go tell people about it, what happens? It becomes sour in your belly, which is the belly of your mind, because people don't want to hear what you got to say. So you have to take all that information that you have and keep it. And it hurts because you want to give, but people don't want to receive it. So you're stuck with it. And then you have to walk around with it every day, and it's very sad. Like the scripture says, with wisdom cometh what? Oppression. Okay? That's a form of oppression. Let's keep reading. What do we read? Let's read to 5. It says, For thou art sent to a people of a strange speech and of a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Okay, so we drop down. Verse 11, it reads, And go get thee to them of the captivity unto thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, Thus saith the Most High thy power, whether they will hear, or whether they will forbear. Then the Spirit took me up, and I heard behind me a voice of a great rushing, saying, Blessed be the glory of the Most High from his place. Now the Spirit that took him up, where did it take him? It says, verse 13, I heard also the noise of the wings of the living creatures that touch one another, and the noise of the wheels over against them, and the noise of a great rushing. So the Spirit lifted me up and took me away, and I went in bitterness in the heat of my spirit. But the hand of the Most High was strong upon me. So where did the Spirit take him? Where did these chariots take him? They took him into another dimension. What dimension? Let's find out. This is the mysteries of the Bible that we're going into. Ezekiel chapter 37. That chapter links up with this chapter. And people read this chapter not understanding the whole second and third chapter. Who is he talking about? The children of Israel. Who is he talking about? Talk to these people who have a hard look about themselves, who talk bad back to you. Talking about his own people. So when you read Ezekiel 37, verse 1, this is a prophecy. This is a vision. This is a futuristic vision that's going on. It reads, the hand of the Most High was upon me, just like we just read in the third chapter. The hand of the Most High was upon me, and carried me out of the spirit of the Most High, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. Let's go back to Ezekiel 3, and let's look at what he did in verse 12. Ezekiel 3 and 12. Let's read that again. Then the Spirit took me up, and I heard behind me a voice of great rushing, saying, Blessed be the glory of the Most High from his place. I heard also the noise of the wings of the living creatures that touch one another, and the noise of the wheels over against them, and a noise of a great rushing. So the Spirit lifted me up and took me away, and I went in bitterness in the heat of my spirit. But the hand of the Most High was strong upon me. Okay, so then it says, then I came to them of the captivity. See that? Where was the captivity? Here in America. The great captivity. It says, verse 2. When it says valley which was full of bones, guess where that valley is? Right here in America. Verse 2. And caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley. And lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O thy power, thou knowest. We are the bones. We are the dry bones here in America. The ones that are getting slaughtered. The Negroes, Latinos, American Indians. We are the bones. We are the ones who can't hear. We are the ones in this valley that Ezekiel saw. Again he said unto me, Prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Most High. Thus saith the Most High thy power unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. See that breath? And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you. Sinews is muscles, right? And flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am the power. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. Think about this. Every time there was an uprising, in the past, with Nat Turner or the Gadites, or in the 70s, in the 60s, okay, all these uprising was these bones coming together, the shaking. They were trying to get it right, but what was they missing? They was missing this word. They didn't understand this Bible, because the Spirit got in them, but they didn't quite understand. As we read on, it's going to show you. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Okay? So the breath is what? The laws, statutes, and commandments. They wasn't keeping the laws. They were coming together for the wrong reasons. Black Panther Party, Brown Berets, right? All these different groups coming together for the wrong reasons. None of them had the breath of life in them. Then said he unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, Prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Most High thy power, come from the four winds, O breath, and breath breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Y'all see that? Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. Look at our people today. Their hope is lost. What did Obama say? Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive, right? That was his thing. Our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy, and say unto them, thus saith the Most High thy power, behold, O my people, I will open your graves, meaning your minds, and cause you to come out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the power, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and ye shall live, and shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I, the power, have spoken it, and performed it, saith the Most High. The word of the Most High came again. Okay, so we're going to go from there. We're going to go to John chapter 3. The famous Gospel of John. And we're going to see how Yahushua fit into this, about those prophesying on the bones. John chapter 3, verse 3. Let's read. John 3 and 3. Gospel of John chapter 3, verse 3. Yahushua answered and said unto him, talking about Nicodemus who snuck out to see him, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of the Most High. So we just read in Ezekiel 37 how they came out of their graves. That's a form of being born again. That's what Yahushua, remember, everything that Christ did, it was based on the old laws. The New Testament wasn't out when he was around. He was making the New Testament. So he was following the commandments. That's all there was. That's why he says to be born again. He said if he don't hear the breath of the Most High, guess what? He will not see the kingdom. Verse 4, Nicodemus said unto him, how can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? See, people read this not even knowing it's connected to Ezekiel 37. Yahushua answered, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born of water and the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of the Most High. When you read Ephesians chapter 5, verse 26, it talks about the water is the word. When you read about the Spirit in Romans chapter 7 and 12, the Spirit is the laws. Okay? That's what the Spirit is. The laws of the Most High. He cannot enter into the kingdom of the Most High if you don't have these two things. That which is born of the flesh is flesh. Remember he talked about the flesh going on these bodies? It says, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Remember, the breath of life came in and the Spirit was in them. We got to understand the precepts. The precepts are here, but people don't see them. The precepts are going right back to Israel. Look at verse 8. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh, and whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. So he's telling Nicodemus, you may be an Israelite, but you know what? You ain't of the Spirit. You don't have the Spirit pursuant to Ezekiel 37 that we just went over. Look at Ezekiel 37 and 9 again. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 9. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind. What was Yahushua talking about? The wind. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the Most High of hosts, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. Do you see the similitude between these two chapters? People read that all the time, not knowing it's talking about the whole nation of Israel. That's what it's talking about. So when you read John 3:16, what is that talking about? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Now, what is that talking about? You got to go back to what the scripture says. Ezekiel 37. All those who heard the Spirit woke up and became what? A great and exceeding army. That's what you got to understand. So he was speaking to the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's go to John 20 and 21. Gospel of John chapter 20. Got about 3 more verses and we'll be done today. John chapter 20 verse 21. Then said Yahushua to them again, Peace be unto you. As my Father has sent me, even so sent I you. And when he had said this, he breathed on them and saith unto them, Receive ye the Holy Spirit. Why was he breathing on them? Because they were receiving the Holy Spirit that Ezekiel was talking about. They received the Spirit. He breathed on them. Whosoever sins ye remit, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever sins ye retain, they are retained. Verse 24. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yahushua came. This is why he returned, because Thomas wasn't there. He came back into that upper room and breathed on him too. All right, because he believed once he saw him. But he was one of that army. Let's go to Acts 2 and 17. Acts chapter 2 verse 17. And it reads, And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith the Most High, I will pour out my Spirit upon all flesh. Who's the all? Israel. How do you know that? Romans 11 and 26 says, And all Israel shall be saved. All right? And all Israel shall be saved. I'll read it again. It says, And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith the Most High, I will pour out my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters, whose sons and daughters? Talking about Israel, shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaids I will pour out in those days of my Spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show wonders in heaven above, and signs of the earth beneath, blood and fire, and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood. We just saw a blood moon the other day, before that great and notable day of the Most High come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Most High shall be saved. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. He's talking to who? The men of Israel. Yahushua of Nazareth, a man approved of the Most High among you by miracles, wonders, and signs, which the Most High did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know. Alright? So now we see what the Spirit is. We see what that whisper is. We see what the instructions are. John 14 and 16. This is my last verse I'm going to pull for tonight. John 14 and 16. And it reads, And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him. But ye know him, for he dwelleth with you, and shall be in you. Now, with that being said, we'll close with that. But I want to say this. He says that the world cannot receive it. Now, you see all these pastors, these different churches, Theologian Church, Seventh-day Adventist Church, Catholic churches, all these different churches, all these scholars went to school and college and so forth. And they read this book. They got full-time jobs Their full-time job is just to go through the Bible every single day. That's their job. While we working and only able to get to the Bible when we get off work after dealing with our families and so forth, these men are in the Bible all day long. Now, how can they read the Bible all day and not see that this whole book is for Israel? All it talks about is the Israelites. Remember, this book was stolen from us. They took this book from us. How can they not see that? How can they not see that Israel is not in his own land? How can they not see that? How can they not see that Israel has been destroyed as a nation? Okay? How can they see that this land has been robbed of everything and the people that belong here is not here anymore? How can they not see that in the Bible? Okay? Somebody's lying here, and it ain't us, and it ain't the Bible. So we got to understand that, you know, we're living in the last days. And all who follow these men and women in these churches will be damned. Okay? Will be damned. And all those that follow them will be damned. So we got to repent and come back to the law, statutes, and commandments and follow our Heavenly Father.
I'm going to end this like this. This is how we do it.
Right. Hey, you got to teach them how to do it right, see?
This is the word of the Lord of hosts. I took you from the pastures and from following the sheep to be prince over my people Israel. I have been with you wherever you have gone and have destroyed all the enemies in your path. I will make you a great name among the great ones of the earth. I will assign a place for my people in Israel. There I will plant them, and they shall dwell in their own land.